Welcome everyone to a big one, and I'm so happy it's with you. That's so exciting. Episode 20 of The Bunker Talk. This is my very special guest, Daniel Wakefield from Top Tier Headshots. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited that I'm on this big episode.
I know it's a milestone for us, and I'm so happy it's with you. Tell everybody a little bit about what you do, who you are, the magician that you are.
Yeah, so I'm Daniel Wakefield. I'm the founder of Top Tier Headshots. I'm a headshot photographer and expression coach. And so I like to tell people that this is what I do is not school picture day.
No.
It's very much about teaching people little tips about how to show up and look confident in front of a camera, how to look approachable, how to look genuine. And then I spend the entire time you're in front of the camera coaching you and bringing those expressions out of you. So I like to tell people that I take responsibility for your face during a session. You don't have to show up and feel like you need to perform. I'm going to pull it out of you during that session. And it's just, I love what I do. I love coaching people. And I very much consider myself to be not just a photographer, but really to be more of a coach. And, I'm going to work with you on this to make sure that we take your online image to the next level.
I mean, I don't think that there's a better way to explain what you do. And it is 100% true. 100% true. We were just talking off camera. I've taken several headshots throughout my career, obviously, right? You do it every couple of years to update it. But I mean, exactly what I wanted out of my headshot. I got that and more. and I was comfortable. The average person is not comfortable in front of the camera,
Yep,
even though
exactly.
I do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I don't watch most of them back. I'll just listen to them because you're just not used to seeing yourself on camera, and you just critique yourself. And really, you bring out the best of people. You have a gift.
Well,
and I'm sure that it's super rewarding to do too, right? Because you just make people feel so good and comfortable that it's almost like you're giving people a way to be like their most confident self permanently, right?
Yeah.
In a photo.
Yeah. Well, I think that the way that we see ourselves and the way that we show up online really has the ability to impact our professional confidence.
I would agree with that.
And so when you get a headshot that's just kind of mediocre or it doesn't represent you well, or there's something about it that you just hate, then to put that on LinkedIn, and you don't really want people going and looking at your LinkedIn page then, and you feel self-conscious about that and all of these things. So when you can get a headshot that accurately represents who you are, it communicates what you want, to be communicating to your audience. And it's also, taking your image to the next level and helping you be ready for opportunities. Then I think that really impacts your professional confidence. And so one of my goals with my clients is I want everybody who comes in to be ready for any opportunity that comes their way. And so if you think to yourself, it's a professional goal one day to be on the cover of Forbes magazine. Are you ready for that with your headshot?
Right.
And if you're not, then, get one that helps you be ready for that and be ready for that opportunity, and at least helps you feeling like I am ready for this opportunity.
That I would, again, 100% agree with that. Because even I've gotten phone calls about my headshot and people telling me, oh my God, see, it's so powerful. It's just, I feel like now more than ever, right? I feel like maybe before headshots were in print, in a magazine, right? It's something where maybe if you were invited to an event, you were featured on screen, something like that. But now it's everything. Now our iPhone contact has space for a picture.
Yep.
And now a headshot there, even using that consistently throughout every media platform, right? Where it's the same picture where I show up, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful when you think about how often you're asked for a head. I feel like headshots at some time were for like important people in business. Not anymore.
Or actors and models.
Right. It was a big deal, like that you had to have a headshot, and now everyone needs one.
Yeah. Well, and so even just statistically, in terms of LinkedIn, LinkedIn actually did a study that showed that people who have a great professional looking headshot on their profile get 14 times more views on their profile. So it's like, whoa, I mean, there's visibility right there. But then also studies about, for example, your business website, that customers are 40% more likely to buy from your business when there are photos of your actual people versus stock images. And I think most times people can tell when it's a stock image versus like these are your actual people, especially if there's like headshots in the about me, or about us section or the leadership team or something. And so when you are authentically putting yourself out there, there's studies that show that it is just good for business.
Yeah.
And so like, you have the chance to have it be a really great image or just kind of mediocre. Like it's playing into that first impression.
I'll tell you, when the reason I knew I wanted to come to you, I had been watching you, and we're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn and all that stuff. And you and I had been connected on LinkedIn. I don't know for how long, but for a while.
Yeah.
For a while. And we were running around in the same circles because we know the same people. And I knew that I was going to do it one day. And it was almost like I almost felt like, well, once I get this headshot, like I made it. Like it's like the notch above. And that's why I came to you too. Exactly what you said. Like I felt like I have some speaking opportunities. I want to get paid for them. I want to look more professional, like more legit, I guess you would say. Right. And I came to you specifically, like I was like, I can't keep pushing it off because like we talked about, there's always another thing. I want to lose some weight. I want to do my hair, all this stuff. And when I was sitting there at the South Florida Prestigious Woman Award, and first of all, I was in the magazine and I was like, oh, I look so good. My headshot is so good. It's exactly how I wanted to feel about myself in that magazine.
Yeah.
And then it came up on the screen and I was like, oh, thank God I did my headshot. Really? Because it would have been one of those things where it's like I'm walking up there with kind of a homemade headshot. I would have been embarrassed for sure. Yeah. For sure. So it's more important than ever. You provided an incredible experience for us. So anybody listening, watching, absolutely make the trip down here, pay Daniel a visit. It's not just a headshot experience. It really isn't. And I'm not just saying that because we're friends now. Like it is a confidence booster overall, not just in the moment of a photograph.
Yeah. And
so
it's been one of the things that's been really interesting as well is when I do headshots for corporate teams that, I mean, typically I think, headshots for a team is, it's just something we got to get done. And, it's like, okay, we better do this, get everybody signed up. But what's been happening because of the expression coaching that I do, and I think that confidence boost that you talk about is that when I do these corporate teams, that it almost becomes like a team building, morale boosting experience. So, and then that gets multiplied across the entire team. And everybody's saying, oh man, you look so amazing. No, you look so amazing. And so it just kind of gels the team even more. And so that's been something that I really wasn't expecting, but it's been cool to see that transform over the last couple of years, and to see the value that the teams are getting is not just the finished product, but it's actually this experience that is bringing the team together in a really powerful way. So that's just like, when I started my business, my thought was, if I'm going to be called top tier headshots, I want to make sure that, I put out a really great product. And that was definitely a goal. And it's been interesting to see some of these kind of side benefits that have almost become like, in some ways, become like of equal importance as the finished product itself.
I love that. Yeah. I think that, and like you said, maybe you got into this, because you love photography, you have a passion for that. But I just think that you're turning an experience into something that you're building people's confidence outside of that room too. It's not just lasting, it's not just while they're in that room. And I think that nowadays people need to be comfortable in front of cameras. It is what it is. Like we're not getting away from this, right? So if you're, talk about that a little, about like, if I do have someone on my staff, right, that's not comfortable in front of the camera, like they're just angry about it, right? Like, I don't want to do it. Like, is there like basic things that people can do just to And I know that's part of your expression coaching,
Yeah.
but just like, even if someone has an issue with getting people like, hey, we're going to be on camera, or hey, you have to be on video, like how do people kind of break that barrier?
Yeah. So I find that most of the time the issue is not that somebody's angry to be in front of it. Normally it's more related to shyness or
Sure.
a little bit self-conscious, or just has struggled to, with the way they look on camera or things like that. And so I think part of it is just, in this age that we live in, where the, to I think to grow and do well as a business and as a growing a personal brand, oftentimes you need to have a face that's out there. And so part of it is just learning over time to be okay with, this is the way that I look on camera, and yeah, I'm going to try to find the best angle and the best lighting and things like that. But I'm also going to be authentically me.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to that authenticity of, we're not all, fashion models, or, perfectly chiseled, or whatever whatever the case may be, but we can still be okay with that authenticity. And yeah, like, we talked about before, I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds because, dad, and that things happen, and I enjoy eating a little too much, and don't enjoy going to the gym as much, and so I'm trying to work on that, but I'm not going to wait until I reach some kind of perfect goal before I start putting myself out there. In terms of people that come to see me, I think part of it starts before we ever get in front of the camera, and that's with the power of human connection. And when I can be talking with somebody and just be learning about them and wanting to hear their goals and their vision for their career and what they want these images to convey, and just listening to them and asking questions, and just building that rapport and forming that connection, so that it's not just, hey, welcome to my studio, come and stand in front of these lights, and which is, in and of itself kind of awkward.
It's intimidating.
It's
very intimidating.
And so, starting with, just connecting over those things, and for me to learn about your goals and to know how best I can execute to help you accomplish your goals. And then just, me, my past used to be a high school teacher, and so that teacher is still in there. And so it's not just, hey, hop in front of the camera and I'm going to start. It's, before we do this, let me walk you through some of these things and explain, what I'm going to, coach you on, how I'm going to do that. This is why we're going to do that. And just bringing in some humor into that to just kind of break the ice a little bit as well. And then just keeping that going. And so really the goal is, I don't want people to look like they're smiling at a camera. I want it to look like they're smiling at a person. So if I can make that connection with you, which is like, that's my number one goal when I have you come into my studio, or if I'm working on location, wherever it is, that's my number one goal, is to make that connection with you. And so that once I get you in front of the camera, once I start, clicking my camera button, that connection continues on, and I'm continuing to build that up, and we're talking, and I'm coaching you on things. And so if I can get people smiling and laughing at me through the camera, then the effect that has is that when somebody then goes and sees your headshot on LinkedIn, they're going to feel like you're smiling at them, not like you just manufactured a smile for a camera, because everybody can tell the difference.
Absolutely.
It does not take somebody might have a hard time saying, well, it's a fake smile but we just intuitively know. We know when it's not a real smile. And so that's kind of the goal, is if I can make that connection with you to get that photo, then when somebody goes on your LinkedIn, they're going to feel that connection, the power of that connection, because it's a real, genuine expression. And so that's kind of the foundation of everything that I'm doing, is how do we get, this headshot that's actually going to make an impact for you professionally. It's not just a picture of your face. It's not you smiling at a camera. It's the power of human connection. People can feel that even looking at a picture.
I'm telling you, I have gotten phone calls of people telling me, Ciara, it looks like you're seeing my soul. I was like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
I am. No,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. You are absolutely a master of your craft. And I love that. And I love to be around people that are so passionate about what they do. And, you know, by no means am I trying to downplay what you do. Obviously, I respect what you do and I love it. And I'm a huge fan. But I think that some people are just like, it's like you said, it's a headshot. It's what you do is so much more than that. So kudos, because you're doing a great job. You're impacting people's lives by way of this, you know, giving them this so that they can show up in these places where now, whether we want to or not, we have to. Yeah. Right? It's part of the game, which is actually what Nicole and I spoke about a lot on our episode here about how, you know, we're living in a hybrid world when it comes to business. It's no longer just person to person. You know, you have to show up online. So you have a killer LinkedIn strategy. Like I said, I mean, I knew everything about you. I knew your style of photography before even speaking to you, right? Like I would see someone's headshot on LinkedIn and I would know it was yours. So it's definitely, you know, your trademark. But talk to us about online strategy, specifically LinkedIn. You know, my LinkedIn game isn't great. I think it's getting a little better. Yeah. I don't really have a strategy for it either. Talk to us about it. Like, what have you learned? You know, let's start there.
Yeah. So I think that it kind of starts with the way that you view LinkedIn as an example. I mean, and obviously, you know, some of this could apply to other social platforms. And I think it is important to have what's called an omni-channel platform, is that you're not dependent on just one platform, but you're building out things on multiple platforms, because there's, you know, you're picking up different audiences and all of these things. But using LinkedIn as an example, I think that the way that we view the platform like LinkedIn is important. A lot of people traditionally have viewed it just as I put my resume on there, and if I'm looking for a job, I go on LinkedIn. Or, you know, I see people that get on there and every single post they make is a sales pitch for their business, you know. So in my industry, somebody might post a headshot, you know, and say, here's 5 reasons why you should work with me as your headshot photographer. And the reality is that nobody wants to read sales pitches all day. And so if that's the extent of your strategy, I mean, those people that I see doing that, or people in other industries that are essentially doing the same thing, the engagement on those posts is like little or nothing. They're just not making an impact on there, and it's for a simple reason that nobody wants to read sales pitches all day. So I think that, again, viewing LinkedIn not as primarily as like, here's an opportunity for me to have like a billboard for my business, but to view LinkedIn as a 24/7 networking event. So the way that I think about a networking event and going and showing up to a networking event, I'm going to apply those same principles to my LinkedIn strategy, right? So if we just think about, you know, networking for a second and what is involved in good networking. So when I started my business, I had no idea. Like, I knew that networking was a thing, but I'd never, you know, coming from a teaching background, I'd never really, you know, gone to any networking events at all. I didn't know how to network. And so I was just, you know, very ignorant. But I knew that I needed to do it. So I put myself out there. And as I did it, the more I did it, the more I learned. So the way that I view networking and the way to do it well is you're not going to sell, you're going to build relationships, and you're going to do that through meeting new people so you can establish relationships. You're going to deepen relationships with existing relationships that you already have, and with the goal of adding value to the other people in your network, and with the result being people know you more, they like you more, and they trust you more. We all know the power of know, like, and trust for business and for business relationships. And so, you know, if you make it a goal, showing up at a networking event, the goal is I'm going to hand out as many business cards as possible, and I'm going to try to sell as many people as I can on my service. you're not going to do very well traditionally. And most of the people that I see who are crushing it in networking, in, just the people that I've gotten to know and meet and things like that, they are givers first and foremost. They're relationship builders and they're givers. And those are the people who are absolutely crushing it in the networking game. So take all of that I just said, and now let's apply it to LinkedIn. How should you go about building a personal brand on LinkedIn? The words personal branding get thrown out all the time these days, but it is super important to know about that, to know what it is, to have an understanding of that, and then to apply that to like building out that personal brand on LinkedIn. So I like to view LinkedIn like a 24/7 networking event. Definitely, at least in this time zone, slows down overnight, but there's still people on there, and then it ramps up during the daytime. And so I want to think about, okay, if networking is about building relationships, meeting new people, adding value, how do I do that on a platform like LinkedIn? So in terms of meeting people and things like that, that would be growing your network. How are you going to do that? So there's very organic ways to do that. There's more automated ways to do that. My strategy is a little bit of a mixture of both, but in every case, my goal is to be authentic, to be myself, and to not be salesy or spammy or anything like that, because we all know that we get 1,000 DMs every day on LinkedIn from people saying, hey, you should try my service. Hey, you should do this.
I love when they get my name wrong.
Right?
I love it.
They get your name wrong. That's the best. Hey. So I think a really, really great thing to do is you're meeting people, say, in-person networking. It's more powerful, actually, to get everybody else's business card than it is to give out your own, because if you just rely on giving out your own business card, people lose it, they drop it, it ends up in the trash. That was a waste of however many dollars.
It's funny because that's when someone asks me for a business card, I just say, oh, let's connect on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'll like shoot them a message there, like, hey, we met here, because I just kind of a little bit about what we were talking about even before recording about like taking your time and I feel like the people that are just there gathering business cards are the ones that want to take you to breakfast and to lunch and I'm just like, I can't, like, let's engage for a while on LinkedIn and then we'll invest.
So my, just to clarify, I think that my strategy with that is like, I'm not usually the person that's like super, outgoing. And so I go to a networking event, there's people that I definitely haven't met, I haven't been able to talk to. So I'm usually focusing on maybe, a few quality conversations. And if I haven't met them before and it's a great conversation, it seems like there's synergy. Hey, do you have a business card? I'd love to connect with you further or something like that. So getting that business card, the next step for me is connecting with them on LinkedIn. Sometimes that happens right at the event, like you said, and LinkedIn makes that really easy with like this, giving you the QR code and the scan function and everything. So that's fantastic. So connecting with those people, I think that's a really organic way to do that. You've already met in person, so you've got the foundation of that relationship. So that's one thing that I do. And then also I think just being strategic about, who are the people in industries that you want to connect with that are in your space, in your market. So for us here in South Florida or maybe beyond, and then just strategically connecting with those people. And so sometimes people are a little bit more private and they don't want to connect with people that they haven't met in person, and that's fine. My mindset is that, well, networking is about, you're not going to make a relationship unless you meet somebody or unless they're in your network. And so I'm open to connecting with people and have had a lot of people connect with me as well that we've never met in person, but I'm just like not salesy at all. And a lot of times the people that I connect with, I'll shoot them a quick DM after we connect and say something like, thanks for connecting. I hope you find my post to be useful. Have a great day. P.S. I don't do cold sales pitches because I want people to know I'm not going to be that guy.
Right.
And it's just a little bit funny because everybody knows that there's so many of those people out there just shooting the cold spammy messages. So I'm just like, hey, up front, I'm not going to be that guy. So I think growing that, there's also automated things you can do to grow your network, and I'm using one of them. It's a software platform called Self-Disrupt, and it actually allows you to automate doing a lot of the things that we would do manually anyways. And their tagline is, it's you at scale. It's not like a spam bot or anything weird like that. And it can be customized to like however you feel comfortable reaching out to people. So the main activity that I'm doing on LinkedIn is all me doing that manually, and like the commenting and stuff like that, and the responding to DMs. That's all me doing that. But some of the growing my network is being automated, but it's being done in a way that's very in a sense organic, and I'm still having control over what industries I'm reaching out to, and even what a keyword that somebody has in their headline. And my goal is not to connect with them and like, hey, here's a sales pitch. It's just, hey, let's connect, and if I can add value, then I'd love to, and hopefully my content is going to add value. So that's that's point number one of the strategy, is that it's a 3-point strategy, and they all start with the word grow. So the first one is grow your audience. So the
I gotta
purpose.
write this down. Grow my audience.
Guess what?
Yes.
It's going to be in my book.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to talk about that
in a
too.
minute. So grow.
Yep.
So I'm throwing out some free content from my upcoming book. So grow your audience. Yep. Part of this whole, like what Nicole talks about, this hybrid business landscape, is the opportunity to speak and to be a thought leader, to be an expert in your industry. But if you don't have an audience, if nobody's listening, it doesn't matter. Part of my goal is I want to expand my network. Yes, I want them to be quality connections, but I also just want people to be in my network and getting value from what I'm posting about, whether or not they ever use me for headshots. I connect with people that may not even be ideal clients, but that's okay. I just hope that they get value from, or, if they know somebody that's looking for great headshots, then maybe, and that's happened, which has been really cool. So grow your audience, getting, more people in your network that are going to hear what you have to say. So that's point number one. Point number two is grow your relationships. And so this can be done on the platform and off the platform. And at its most basic level, this is just engaging on other people's posts.
I was going to ask you about that because you're so good at that.
Well, I'm trying.
You are so good.
And there's, obviously we have a limited amount of time every day, but I'm only spending probably 15, 20, maybe sometimes 30 minutes on LinkedIn every day. And if you can carve out that amount of time, that gives you some time to be able to just scroll your feed. And sometimes it's as simple as liking somebody's post. So you're showing up to do that. Other times it's a comment, it's a congratulations, or if it, makes sense to have a comment that's maybe a little bit more like, if one of the things I try to do on my posts is encourage people to join the conversation, ask a question that may prompt a thoughtful answer. And if I see somebody else doing that and I feel like I have something to add that's worthwhile, then I'll add a comment in there. And so what you're doing is you're just like starting to build these relationships, because again, thinking about it like a networking event, one of the things you do at a networking event is talk. You talk to people, you engage in conversation. And so when you are showing up and doing that on the platform, it's helping to build that relationship. And there have been times where I've connected with somebody and we like didn't know each other at all, and just started seeing each other's posts and appreciated each other's posts and started engaging on each other's posts. And after a while, it was like, should we grab a coffee? Like, it feels like
It's almost like
there's
you
some
know 'em.
synergy. Yeah. And so some of those engaging on each other's posts that turned into a coffee meeting that has become an amazing business relationship where we've been able to introduce each other to ideal clients or, referral partners or whatever the case may be. But the relationship blossomed, but it started purely on LinkedIn with connecting with somebody that I didn't know at all. And so, and also showing up with the purpose of adding value, not the purpose of what can I get out of you, right?
Right.
So I think that's a key mindset shift there. So that's really important. And then just kind of the next thing is, well, when it makes sense, take it to the next level in terms of, maybe you're commenting on each other's posts or just different things are happening, or they comment on your post, and maybe it's like prompted like, oh, hey, let me ask them about this, or I really like what you're doing in your business. So shooting them a DM that, again, is not a, what can I get out of you, but a, I love what you're posting about, and I love what you're doing in your business. I'd love to learn more about your business and how I can show up to support that. And maybe that's just exchanging some DMs back and forth. Maybe that is doing a virtual coffee, which is, Zoom has made that so easy for us these days. Or sometimes if they're in your area, just, going to a coffee shop, grabbing a coffee, and getting to know them better. Again, with the purpose of, I'm not showing up to sell you. Yeah, if you ask me about what I do, I'm happy to talk about that. Yeah. But I'm not there to sell you on my service. I'm there to find out more about what you do, because I love what you're doing, and how can I help? And so building those relationships, the networking event and LinkedIn, but it starts very simply. Take 10 minutes a day, scroll your LinkedIn feed, engage on other people's posts, even if you don't know them, and just see where that takes you, So that's point number 2, grow your relationships. The third one, and I think the one that's the most difficult for people, is grow your voice. And so this is the one that a lot of people stumble on, because this has to do with posting content on a regular, consistent basis. And this is one of the things that has absolutely caused my business to skyrocket, because I made a commitment early on. So one of my mentors, who's up in DC, told me very early on in my business, he said, I get a lot of clients from LinkedIn. And so I was like, all right then. So if that's the case, then I am going to commit to building a platform on there. And so I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was able to look at his posts and see what he was doing and kind of adapt some of those things to my market. And then I started following other people and learning from people outside of my industry as well. And I think that's something that's really valuable. People are like, oh, I've got to come up with this really original idea. And the reality, there's nothing new under the sun. A lot of us are just kind of taking, this idea here and this idea here and that idea over there, and then putting our own spin on it. And it's not and of course, where it's applicable, giving credit where it's due, this person prompted me to have this idea or this, but, so it's not like it has to be this super, nobody's ever heard of this original post. Sometimes it's just your thoughts about different things, right? So I think that's something to think about. But when I started, I think one of the most important things is the importance of consistency in doing this. And sometimes I understand, people are busy, it can be hard to do this, but there's ways that you can, I think, just increase your efficiency and not starting, don't kill yourself at the beginning. When I started and I was just still very new and just was a little bit unsure, I said, I'm going to commit to posting 3 times a week. I want to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm just, at the very least, that's like a rock solid commitment. That's what I'm going to do. And so I started doing that and just started, getting ideas about, it doesn't always have to be the same thing. It can be different categories. We can talk about that in a minute. But just as I got consistent with that and made progress with that, I was like, well, I've got more stuff that I can post about. And so then I started doing Tuesday and Thursday, and then occasionally Saturday as well. So now I'm pretty consistently posting Monday through Friday.
Wow.
And sometimes on Saturdays.
Is it true? I don't know what you have found. The time matters when you post?
Somewhat. I find that posting, in the morning, whether it's mid-morning, sometimes lunchtime, is a little bit better than posting. Like yesterday, I just had a crazy day yesterday, and if you read my post yesterday, it was kind of talking about this is what content creation looks like sometimes. It's just like a hurried mess, but still hoping to add value to people who are reading it. And it didn't get as much engagement, and I feel like it was probably because I posted at like 3 or 4 p.m., but I still got something out there, and the response was people appreciated what I had to say. And so, again, it's not like about, if I just had that one viral post, that, because the amount of people that have a post go viral is just very small.
Right.
So it's more about the consistency and the slow growth over time, to, have more of that be the goal, and to have the consistency be the goal, and then just let the end product come. And of course, we can always get better at what we're posting and things like that, but part of it is you just have to start.
I feel like, part of the challenge is, committing to a schedule. Like, okay, so my LinkedIn, this is my strategy, which is not a strategy. This is just what I do. I can definitely do better with engaging. I feel like I can formulate a post, but it takes me, if it's going to be a good solid one, it'll take me a good 10 minutes. I make sure that my words are spelled right and like all that stuff, and that it's making sense.
10 minutes isn't bad though.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah,
That's
good. That's good. Like, so for me, spending like 10 minutes on a post, I think is good. There are people who probably agonize over it for a lot longer than that, and are probably overthinking it.
Well, I usually edit it. I usually hit the edit and then like fix something. Yeah. But I feel like with my comments, I'm not as like, I feel like I find myself commenting similar things, which I feel like I don't want to do that. I want to be more intentional and like engaging with my comments.
Yeah, no, I think that there's value in both. I mean, sometimes like there's really nothing to say.
Sometimes it's just a fire emoji.
That's amazing. It's whatever it is, the skyrocket emoji, whatever. But where it's applicable, where, especially if somebody's like asking for feedback in the comments or trying to engage in conversation, well, what can I add that would be, valuable? So just taking a minute and thinking through that. I can't remember where I was going with that.
Well, I was telling you about my strategy, my lack of strategy. Yeah. So it's like I will post, like if I'm doing something the day before, like a networking event or a speaking engagement, I try to do it. The speaking engagements, I try to do it like the day of. And I have noticed that when I am in the picture, right, it's more engaging, right? Like it's rather than just being a post with no photos.
Yep.
Absolutely, the photo gets more engagement, no matter what the photo is.
Yeah.
I haven't really brought my personal life onto LinkedIn, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like, what do you think about like people bringing, not like drama, but for example, I was just in California on vacation. I didn't post any of that on LinkedIn. Yeah. I thought about it. I was like, it wouldn't be a terrible idea. Like I could post we were in Napa, right? Like post a view and just decompressing from work. I thought about it, but I didn't. Yeah. What are your viewpoints on like a little bit of the personal life?
Yeah. So I'm very much in favor of it. And I think there's a good reason for that is that, again, if one of the goals of networking and of using LinkedIn is for people to know, like, and trust you, then that adds to that. Right. And so when I post things, a lot of times it might be a little bit more of a personal post, but I usually try to have like a little bit of a business tie-in. Maybe you don't have to have that, but I feel like it adds some value, to talk about how this, vacation is impacting your work in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking a break, stepping back, how it's helping you in that way. Because we all have thoughts about that. Or when I post something from my family, sometimes my best business insights come from my family unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, my son did this and it was kind of funny. And here's the funny picture that went with it. But then I started thinking about how this applies, like what this like concept, how it actually applies to business and why it's so, and it's like, I've just had some really cool business insights from just like building a puzzle with my son or, you know, whatever the case may be. And so I'm absolutely all for that. No, I don't want LinkedIn to become Facebook,
right?
With all the, especially with all the drama that's there. But I think that, you know, that my goal is how do I continue to add value to the people? And I think that's, you know, stepping beyond just the consistency of our posting to the question of, well, what do I actually post about? Especially if the goal is not to do sales pitches all day long, which I think is where a lot of individuals and businesses fail in their LinkedIn strategies. Every post is a sales pitch and people just get tired of reading that and they don't engage. And so I think that I asked somebody this question the other day. Let me ask it to you. When you click subscribe on a YouTube channel, if you boil it down, what are the reasons why you would click subscribe to that YouTube channel?
If it is a channel outside of my friends, right, that open their own YouTube channel, I would subscribe because I'm entertained.
Okay.
I feel like, and I'm thinking about it before I owned a business and had my own, right? When I did not own a business and I was an avid YouTube watcher, which now I'm watching reels on Instagram or TikTok, right? Like it's not, I barely go to YouTube. And I also think a piece of it is because a lot of that content is already on other platforms in shorter clips, right? So, but I feel like I used to watch a lot of YouTube because I was entertained or I related to the person.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. So kind of my thought process is when I click subscribe on a YouTube channel, it's either because it's entertaining or it's somehow helpful to me, or hopefully both. It's entertaining and helpful. So you've got like how-to channels or things that explain how to do this or whatever, things that are helpful. And then you've got entertainment that I just really enjoy watching that. And it like, you know, helps me relax, whatever. So I like to take those principles and then how do we filter the content that we post through those kind of big high level filters? Is what I'm posting in some way entertaining or helpful, valuable to the people who are going to read it? And so again, not sales pitchy or anything like that, but what am I posting about that's actually going to add value to people in my network? So people know that follow me on LinkedIn, I do post my headshots, but when I do that, what I try to do is I tag the person in the shot and then talk about them. And I want to give them a shout out and put the spotlight on them. People are still seeing my work, but it's also like, hey, you should really go follow this person because Ciara is crushing it in the insurance industry and she's speaking and she's doing all these great things. And you definitely need to go follow Ciara. So then it becomes the people in my network are getting value because they're seeing another awesome person they need to go and connect with. So I'm adding value that way. If I do, you know, I try to post some things that are just, you know, thoughts about entrepreneurship or this is an obstacle that I've had to face in my journey as an entrepreneur. These are some of the ways that I've sought to overcome this obstacle. How are you overcoming those obstacles in your journey? And so I'm adding value by sharing what I'm doing to overcome and then also giving people a platform to share what has helped them in their journey. And then even some of the just, you know, behind the scenes stuff. And again, that comes back to once you've got people in your network and people are bought into who you are and your process and they like you, then a behind the scenes post all of a sudden becomes entertaining. Because they want to know what you're up to because now they know, like, and trust you. They've had that opportunity to get to know you, and now they want to know what CR is up to, on a daily basis. And so some people are like, I don't want to do just a selfie and show what I'm doing, but that can actually be really powerful when you've got people that really love you and what you're doing. So that's something that's just very simple. And sometimes I have a crazy busy day. Maybe I'm on location doing headshots for a company, and the only time I've got is to grab a selfie with my gear, maybe somebody at the company, and just be like, excited to be on location doing headshots for, such and such a company. And that's literally all I've got time for, but it's still me showing up and showing what I'm up to, and people are invested in who I am, right? So I think that's an easy way to do that. And then, and sometimes I get like a crazy idea for something that's kind of funny or entertaining, and I'll throw that up there too, just because it adds value by breathing some fresh air into somebody's day.
I think so too. And like you said, if we view LinkedIn as if it was a 24-hour like networking event, right? When you're at a networking event in person and you're talking to people, you're strictly not just talking about what you do.
Yeah.
Right? You're relating as a person. Like maybe you heard their son graduated high school. Well, where are they going to college and what are they going for? Things like that. So if you do that in person, why wouldn't we do it online?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, even on the, going to a networking event, selfie at the event with your friends or people that you've met or, whatever. I've been trying to, because sometimes the networking events that I go to have like, maybe they have like somebody on stage speaking, or there's a panel, or there's something going on where we can learn something. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I've been trying to do is when I go to an event like that, grab that selfie and I post it on LinkedIn, I try to post some of my takeaways.
Yes, I just did that too. Yes.
And so that is putting more value out there to the people. So it's not simply a behind the scenes of, what we're doing, but and it's here's some value.
Yep. And I think it does add, it shows that you're also just not like looking to just post something, right? Like you were at an event, not because you needed content, right? You went there because you went to grow. Right. You went to a quality event as well. So it says something about how you spend your time when you do that. I enjoy those posts too. Like I don't want to just see that someone is at an event every single event you go to, but tell me, what did you learn? Who was there? Like, what did you get out of it? Would you go to the next one? Yeah. Things like that, because then maybe it's an event that I would consider going to. Yeah, exactly. I do appreciate that. I know that we could talk about LinkedIn forever, but we have to talk about your book.
Okay.
Tell us about the book. I know we know a little bit about it, but what made you write a book and how'd you do it? I know that's a hard question.
Yeah. Okay. I'll see if I can be concise. All right. So, about a year and a half ago, and this is not something that we were planning for or marketing for, anything like that, I started to have other photographers reach out to me for business, like photography business coaching. I guess they saw how well my business was doing, and they were like, how are you getting clients? What are you doing? And basically people started saying, hey, can I pay you to hop on a call and just pick your brain for an hour or whatever? And I was like, sure. Like it wasn't something I was necessarily ready for or expecting, but things were going well in the business. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do something like that. So that happened, and then it happened again. And then it happened again. And some of those original clients reached out to do a second call because what I told them in the first call worked, and they were getting more clients, and which was just so rewarding as well. And so it kept happening again and again and again. And halfway through last year, I was talking with my wife, Bethany, and I was like, should we be doing something more strategic here? Mm-hmm. Should we be maybe thinking about this as like maybe another arm of my business that, and my background as a high school teacher as well. Like I love teaching people. And so, and I was finding it very rewarding to help other photographers with these things. And I also have always really enjoyed writing. And so kind of the initial thought was, well, let me write a book kind of directed towards photographers about, and tell it not just like as a manual of like, here's point 1, 2, and 3, but to tell it from the perspective of the story of my business. Because when I started my business, I had 0 business connections. I didn't know what networking was. I had never done sales and marketing, and was just like as fresh as you can get on the business scene. But through, mentorship and just putting myself out there and learning, was able to grow very quickly with my business. And so let me write about that from the perspective of my story, but then pulling out the practical things that helped me to grow, and that, kind of like systematize them a little bit. And like the LinkedIn strategy, I was doing things, but somebody asked me originally last year sometime, what's your LinkedIn strategy? And I was like, well, I don't know. What is it? And it forced me.
You didn't realize that you had a strategy.
I didn't realize I had one, and it forced me to sit down and think about what I was doing, and kind of distilled it into those 3 points that we talked about. So the goal was, let me write a book for photographers specifically about how I grew my business, and here's the practical steps that I used. And as I was writing it, I began to realize this isn't just for photographers. I began to realize the things that I'm talking about are principles that really any entrepreneur that's starting out could take these things. So the book is going to be directed specifically towards people in any creative industry. So like photographers, videographers, marketing, websites, design, anything like that. And just like what are the steps that I took that you can then take and apply to your business to grow. And so, there's a chapter on, the first chapter is about mindsets, and how important your mindset is when you approach being an entrepreneur. And then I've got a chapter on websites and investing in yourself, client experience. That's my favorite chapter, by the way. And I love Nicole helped me with that chapter, and I think it shows. But I've got a chapter on networking and LinkedIn and all of the things that I learned in those arenas. I've got a chapter on sales calls and what I learned about how to just build rapport and build relationships in that way, and time management and the power of consistency in your business.
I need your book. I need it all.
I'm super excited about it, and we actually just last week signed with a publisher, so super excited.
Exciting.
And can't wait to get it out there. We definitely have some big things planned in the near future related to that. But yeah, so that was kind of the genesis of the book, was just I wanted to have a platform to help other photographers, and it just kind of grew into more than that. And it's kind of blossomed into some other things. I'm teaching my first photography business workshop next month, right in my studio, and I'm partnering with world famous headshot photographer Peter Hurley. He's going to come down and teach his headshot intensive workshop in my studio, which
awesome.
Super pumped about. And then the first day of that, I'm going to be teaching the business aspect of building a photography business. And I think we're over halfway done selling tickets for that, and we still got a month to go.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, I was super excited.
That's awesome, because I know that people, creatives are creatives because that's what they are, and the business side can be a struggle, right? Where even you and I were talking about this off camera, right? Just even in the speaking world, right? And even someone coming to you last year and saying, "Hey, can I pay you for your time?" Sometimes you're just like, "Oh, I'll just help you out." But then at some point, there's nothing wrong with also just getting compensated for your knowledge,
right?
And I think that, I'm not necessarily a creative. I am creative, but I'm not like a creative person. Like I say that that's what I am, but I know a lot of them that struggle with charging for their time. They don't know how to price it accordingly. And I know that it ties into their own confidence in themselves and stuff. So it's having the pathway for that is crucial for their success on the business side.
Absolutely. And I think there are some people who can have this feeling of, if I'm charging for my time, then like I'm being greedy or like people are going to see me as just wanting money or whatever like that. But like we talked about off camera before, that you only have so much time as a business owner. And if you don't protect that, you're quickly going to be bled dry, and you're not going to have any time left or energy to
work on your own business,
to work on your own business, or even just to help your clients or whatever you need, things like that. So part of it's about protecting your time, but then also part of it is the clients that I do have, I want to serve them well. And I want to be able to give them 100% of my focus while I have them with me. I don't want to be thinking about the next person coming in. I want to have that time to dedicate to them. And if you are charging, bottom basement prices, then you necessarily have to have like 1 million clients a month just to make ends meet, which means you have no time for anything else. And you've got no time to really give of yourself, and then you're going to be burned out at the same time. So part of like what I encourage creatives and other entrepreneurs to think about is part of what's going to really help grow your business is the amount of time and just energy and focus you're able to dedicate to each client. And you're only going to be able to do that if you charge a high enough price to where you don't have to have 1 million clients a month to make ends meet. So it frees you up to be able to serve them better. So it allows you to give them a whole new tier of service, if you will. Whereas, when you have to have 1 million clients a month, it's like, okay, you come in and out the door and onto the next person, and people feel like, oh, I wasn't really heard. I wasn't really, felt like I was taken care of. Whereas what I'm encouraging creatives to think about is you want your clients to feel like you thought of everything, you took care of everything. They feel heard, they feel taken care of, they feel empowered. And you're only able to do that if you charge accordingly.
I think I love the fact that you said chapter 1 is mindset.
Yeah.
I think it all is so intertwined with the fact that if you believe in your work, creative or not, right? If I believe, I have done the time in my industry, I've been in this industry for 20 years. I have designations that are basically a college degree in insurance, right? I have done the time. So if I believe in my value, then when I'm presenting a proposal to an insured that may be $1,000 more than what they have, but it's packed with value and things that they're not getting, I'm not going to be nervous about that because I am convinced about myself. So much of what we do, which is one of the main reasons why I love this podcast, is because I get to speak to people like you that have it figured out, right? And
trying.
Well, we're always trying. I don't think that ever goes away, which is something that entrepreneurs need to hear about, right? The new ones that are just starting, sometimes it doesn't go away, right? You wake up one day, you're feeling good. You wake up the next day, you're feeling good. And then the third day, you're kind of questioning, what am I doing, right? But so much of it, when you are delivering an item, for example, for what you do, right? And you're so convinced in your value that I know that comes across to me in that first engagement. If you are presenting a service, a product, and you're nervous about telling me what it costs, I already know it's not worth it because you're not convinced.
Yep, exactly.
And I think that that's kind of sometimes what happens where people are afraid of charging for higher ticket items or services or experiences because they're not convinced it's worth it. So part of the mindset is knowing that your work deserves it, especially on the creative side, right? Because I sell insurance. It's not warm and fuzzy. It never is. It's, it is what it is. You're forced to have it. People hate to pay it, but when in your space, if I can sense and I know that you believe in your product, you're convinced that you can give me what I want, the price is really not an objection. It's not. So I love that the book starts with that because I think that that's 60% of the battle. Is us believing in ourselves that we're worth it, that we're worth the time, and that we are capable of delivering that experience, right? That the client is expecting. That's great. I can't wait to read it.
I can't wait for you to read it.
So can you give us the title?
So the title is called Accelerate.
Nice.
And yeah, it's so the publishing company that I went with, one of the reasons we went with them is because they have a very robust review and editing process. And so it's not quite ready to come out yet, but it's like well on the way. It's like most of the way done, and yeah, just
that's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's so. What's next? I mean, a published author like you, like that's wild. I remember so when I took my headshots, Daniel took a picture of me and he said, "This is the one for when you write a book." Yeah. And I was like, "But I don't really want to write a book." He was like, "No." So I have. It's so funny because anytime I see it, I'm like, "Oh, that's my book. Yeah. That's the back of my book."
Yep.
You see, that it's powerful what you do. You inceptioned me to think I'm going to write a book.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I love it.
It's that powerful. Yeah. It's that powerful.
Well, again, it's like going back to the headshots. If you can see yourself in that role, then you begin to think, well, maybe I could be.
I never have wanted to write a book. Of course, you think, what am I going to write about? Who's going to read it? I have nothing to say. But I walked out of there and I thought, and every time I look at the picture, I'm like, maybe I will write a book. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, if you're creating content on LinkedIn that's adding value to people,
why not?
Yeah, why not?
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
So I think that one of the things that I'm thinking about is, again, kind of coming full circle to the teacher that's still in here, and my love for helping people have, that aha moment of, I get it. Whatever it is that we're talking about, I get it, and it makes a difference. That being able to take some of these things and to begin to speak on them as well. And maybe, a corporate workshop or a speaking engagement where the things that I've, been learning about and really diving into and getting proficient at, and it's really impacted my business, why not speak on that subject? And just, again, with the goal of how can I help? How can I help your business? How can I help you as an individual build that LinkedIn profile, or learn about the power of confidence in in yourself, and then in the workplace, and how that spills over, or personal branding and how that's so key to this business landscape that we're in. So we got to have you back.
We got to have you back. This has been an amazing conversation.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for
welcome.
your time. Thank you for being here. And, anybody that watches or listens to this is going to get so much value. And that's the purpose of why I wanted to do this, because as a young entrepreneur, my industry is very helpful to me. They're very supportive, but I don't know that all are.
Yeah.
So I feel like, if I have access to so many intelligent, successful people, and especially that's kind of why I do it in person, because I want to keep it local for as long as I can to highlight the people here locally that are making a difference and impacting businesses, locally here that, for our economy and our community. So you're definitely one of those people. Thank you so much for the impact you had on me, not just in my photos, but your friendship. I felt like I knew you before I even met you. And so it's everything that you're writing about, hopefully going to teach about one day, you can, because you've done it and you do it very well. So thank you for being here, and we'll definitely have you back. We have to.
Yeah, well,
there's so much we didn't talk about.
Of course.